You think cannibalism is the darkest line in human history. You think it's the one taboo every culture, every century, every religion agreed on. You think no human group ever crossed it casually. You are embarrassingly wrong. 44,000 years ago in what is now Belgium, a group of Neanderthals, 6 of them, all women and children, were hunted down, killed, and systematically butchered. Their bones were cracked open for marrow. Their skulls were split to extract the brain. Every single cut mark on those bones was made by a flint knife. And when archaeologists compared those cut marks to the ones Neanderthals left on deer bones, on mammoth bones, on horse bones, they were identical. Not similar, identical. This wasn't a ritual. This wasn't a desperate one-time famine event. This was a strategy, a dark, calculated strategy. Neanderthals looked at neighboring clans and simply saw walking calories. Here's the thing. To understand why they did this, you have to understand what a Neanderthal actually was. New isotope data from 2025, analyzing nitrogen and carbon ratios locked in their bones, revealed something that reshapes everything we thought we knew. Neanderthals weren't just meat eaters, they were hypercarnivores. They got nearly 100% of their calories from animal flesh. And here's the math that should genuinely disturb you. A Neanderthal body was a biological furnace. Broader rib cage, denser muscles, a barrel chest built for power, not endurance. These bodies required almost double the daily calories of a modern Homo sapiens. We're talking 4,000 to 6,000 calories every single day just to not starve. Think about what that actually means in practice. A single mammoth could feed a clan of 30 Homo sapiens for weeks. A Neanderthal clan of 12 would burn through that same mammoth in days. They couldn't afford to be picky. They couldn't afford to let any protein source walk away. And during the late Pleistocene, roughly 60,000 to 40,000 years ago, the protein started disappearing. So, what changed? The late Pleistocene wasn't just cold, it was violently unstable. Climate swings that should have taken thousands of years were happening inside a single lifetime. Forests collapsed into tundra, tundra froze into barren steppe, and the enormous herds of megafauna that Neanderthals depended on, woolly mammoths, woolly rhinos, giant deer, wild horses, began vanishing. And here is where their physical design betrayed them. Neanderthals weren't built for long-distance running. They didn't use projectile weapons like bows or throwing spears to hunt from a safe distance. Their entire hunting strategy relied on ambush. They had to hide behind thick trees, leap out, and thrust heavy, massive spears into a mammoth or a woolly rhino at point-blank range. It was a brutal, wrestling-style hunt. But when the forests collapsed into open, barren tundras, there was nowhere to hide. The megafauna could see them from miles away. Neanderthals were starving not because there was zero life around, but because their bodies and weapons were physically incapable of hunting in an open field. The math didn't just break, it shattered. Here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. Imagine you need 5,000 calories a day. Imagine your entire food system is built on animals that are now hundreds of miles away, or dead. Imagine there are no crops to fall back on, no trade networks, no stored grain, just cold and hunger, and the slow realization that your world is shrinking. Now, a Neanderthal clan bumps into another Neanderthal clan. Different family group, different territory, and both of you are starving. What happens next is not evil, it's math. Let me take you to the caves. Goyet in Belgium, El Cedron in Spain, Moula Guerci in France. Multiple sites across Europe where archaeologists found Neanderthal remains that had been, there's no gentle way to say this, processed. The 2025 to 2026 reanalysis of these bones used microscopic imaging to compare the cut marks against a database of every known butchering pattern. From animals Neanderthals hunted to bones left by predators, to known ritual burials. The verdict? Zero evidence of ritual. None of the patterns you see in ceremonial cannibalism. No careful placement of skulls, no ochre staining, no grave goods. These bones were treated exactly like deer carcasses. Cut marks at tendon attachment points. That's where you cut to remove muscle. Percussion fractures on long bones. That's where you smash them open for marrow. Skulls opened at the base. That's brain extraction. And if you think the bone markings are enough, science just went a step further. Microscopic analysis of the dental calculus, the fossilized plaque on Neanderthal teeth, revealed the final, undeniable proof. When geneticists extracted DNA trapped inside that prehistoric tooth plaque, they didn't just find the woolly rhino or bison meat you'd expect, they found the DNA of other Neanderthals. This means they weren't just cooking the meat thoroughly or turning it into some distant, detached ritual meal. They were eating their own kind raw or barely seared over an open fire, leaving the genetic evidence of their neighbors literally stuck between their teeth. It wasn't a rare, hidden shame. It was just a regular Tuesday in the cave. And here's the detail that should make your stomach turn. The cut marks on human ribs are in the exact same position, made with the exact same tool angle as the cut marks on reindeer ribs from the same layer of the same cave. This is not a metaphor. They literally butchered people the same way they butchered deer. Now, this raises a question that should be deeply uncomfortable. How do you do that? How do you look at another human being, someone who looks like you, someone whose children play with your children, and see a meal? The answer is in how Neanderthals lived. New genetic analysis from 2025 revealed something stark. Neanderthal clans were tiny, 10, maybe 12 people, and they were shockingly isolated from each other. When scientists sequenced DNA from Neanderthal remains across Europe, they found almost no evidence of wider social networks, no exogamy patterns, no trade routes, no shared tool traditions across regions. And this extreme isolation triggered a biological time bomb. When scientists mapped the genomes from these cannibalistic cave sites, they discovered a horrific genetic reality: extreme inbreeding. Because these clans of 10 or 12 people refused to mix with outsiders and instead viewed them as a food source, they were forced to breed within their own tiny group. Generation after generation, the data shows that many of these late Neanderthals were the children of half-siblings or first cousins. Their DNA was littered with harmful mutations. But it gets worse. In biology, there is a deadly consequence to consuming your own species. When you practice cannibalism systematically, you become incredibly vulnerable to unique pathogens and blood-borne viruses. If one member of the neighboring clan had a deadly hidden genetic disease or a parasite, and you ate them, your entire family clan caught it. By turning their neighbors into a menu option, Neanderthals weren't just solving a hunger problem, they were actively poisoning their own gene pool. Homo sapiens at the same time had networks spanning hundreds of miles, shell beads from the Mediterranean appearing in northern Europe, tool styles spreading between groups, marriages connecting distant clans. We survived the Ice Age because when one group starved, another group helped. Neanderthals didn't have that. If you were outside the clan, you weren't a potential ally. You weren't a trading partner. You were a competitor for the last mammoth in the valley. And when the mammoths were gone, you were the mammoth. Let that sink in. I know, stay with me. Here's what I need you to sit with. This isn't a story about monsters. It's a story about a species that backed itself into a biological corner and ran the math. Evolution looked at the Neanderthal body, massive, powerful, hungry, and designed it for a world full of giant prey. Then it took that world away, and the only available protein source left was other Neanderthals. And here's the twist that should make you genuinely uncomfortable. You carry Neanderthal DNA. If you're of European or Asian descent, 1 to 2% of your genome came from them. Those genes affect your immune system, your pain tolerance, even your susceptibility to certain diseases. Your ancestors met these people. They traded with them. They had children with them. And at some point, those same people, or their cousins, their neighbors, were hunting each other for food. The line between human and meat was never a line at all. It was a math problem. And when the numbers stopped working, Neanderthals solved it the only way their biology allowed. They didn't survive because they were moral. They survived because, for a while, they were willing to do whatever it took. And then, even that wasn't enough. What do you think? Was this pure survival or the exact reason they went extinct? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe for more deep dives into who we used to be. See you in the next video.